Have you heard of this art place where you to go bare feet to fully immerse yourself in the exhibit and not sure if it's within your comfort zone? Well, my husband has OCD when it comes to feet, and he thought the experience was worth it. In this video, we'll go over some of the things you should know before you visit TeamLab Planets in Tokyo. We bought our tickets online and it was a really easy process on the TeamLab official website. When you've decided on a date that has tickets available, you will be prompted to choose an admission time. There is a 30-minute window where you need to be lined up at the venue to be allowed in. But don't worry, if you end up being late though, on their site they also mention how you can still enter TeamLab Planets Tokyo if you arrive on the site within the same day during open hours. You may wonder how long you can spend in the exhibit. Once you're admitted, you'll be directed by staff to go a certain way, but there is no one to monitor how long you spend in each of the rooms. The only exception is the flower room, which only allows you to stay about like 5 minutes, but it actually felt less because you had to walk to your spot and try to find and take good pictures, but it went by so fast. Other than that, you can go through the entire exhibit multiple times and stay in other rooms for as long as you like. For us, we actually stayed for about 2 hours from the time we start lining up to exiting the building because we also had other plans for the day. How bad can the barefoot experience be? Well, when we first heard about the whole experience being barefoot, we were both a little uncomfortable with it, but it was something that we agreed should be on our bucket list since it was such a popular attraction. Before entering the exhibit, everyone was required to watch a video about the barefoot experience and the process for locking up your belongings. After we locked our things, I had to go to the washroom and I either had to go barefoot or wear shared slippers. Honestly, I was a bit grossed out by this, but the shared slippers were better than nothing. Before going to the washroom, I had Pat hang onto my phone because my purse was already inside the locker. This is an important detail that we talk about more in our Mount Fuji video, so if you haven't checked it out yet, click on the link above. So when we finally got started, the staff directed us to the water area, with the first piece of art being the waterfall of light particles at the top of an incline. This is where you get your feet cleansed in some chlorine water and then enter a room with benches and towels to dry your feet. We'll go in more detail about how our feet felt for each of the different rooms, but overall we felt it wasn't so bad to be barefoot knowing everyone walked through the cleansing water slide. Although there were a lot of people when we went, taking photos in each of the rooms wasn't too bad. The only room that was challenging was the orchid one because you have a time constraint and the space is much smaller, so it's harder to avoid getting people in your frame and the reflection too. For all the other rooms, they're much larger, so it's easier to get certain angles without having people in the background. Also, people generally move on after a certain amount of time, so if you're patient, you can get some really good solo shots. Since some of the rooms involve getting your feet wet, it's a good idea to wear something that won't get soaked. We recommend shorts for this because wearing a dress or skirt will require some extra caution when you're in the room with mirrored floors. If you don't want to ruin your outfit for the day just for this exhibit, they do provide free rental shorts. Also, if you do want to wear a dress, make sure it's not a super long one or you will have to hold it up during the koi room experience, which is what happened to me and made that exhibit rushed and less enjoyable. I didn't want many spoilers before visiting the exhibit, so I didn't look at their site until afterwards to learn more about each of the rooms. Thinking back, I wish I did because we missed a couple things and I think we would have appreciated the extra information. So since we're on the topic of the koi room, let's start with this one first. The water was murky looking and felt lukewarm, so we were both feeling a bit squeamish inside. As I mentioned before, I had to hold up my dress for this entire room. Even though my dress wasn't super long, it was because the water in that room went up almost to my knees. Other than that though, we thought the koi was really nice to watch. They aren't real, so you don't have to worry about your feet getting touched by live fish, but Pat started freaking out because he stepped on something that felt like a wet tissue. My favorite room is the Infinite Crystal Universe, which felt so magical once you stepped into all the dangling string lights that change colors as it syncs to music. There were mirrors everywhere, so it can be a little cold on your feet, and if you wear a dress or skirt without any shorts underneath, just be careful of the reflecting floors. Thankfully, the room is pretty big with many hallways to go down, so you can avoid being too close to people. We did find it hard to take pictures with all the crowd and to further in the room where there were wider paths so you could stand off to the side for some pics, but I would still see people in between the gaps of string lights. Also near the end of the room, off to the right, there's a corner spot that is perfect for taking photos. This room was one of my favorite, but it actually made me feel really trippy and dizzy. It's called the Floating in the Falling Universe of Flowers. It is shaped like a dome and reminded me of an IMAX movie. As soon as I stepped in and looked up, the movement of flowers made me feel like I was losing my balance, kind of like the feeling you get after you spin around in circles and then try to walk. To get the best experience here, you need to lie down and watch the flowers float by, and there were so many people lying down the center. I was actually so scared because I was so dizzy I would trip over and step on someone by accident. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Once we found a spot to lie down, we ended up staying in this room for a good 15 minutes since we were so comfortable. With the beautiful flowers and music, it almost felt like we were meditating. The Moss Garden was an outdoor exhibit and we were provided shared slippers before entering. This room had these large mirrored egg-looking shapes and we spent the least time here because we didn't really understand it. Later on, when we looked it up on the website, we found out that you could actually push these eggs and make them move. This room is also better to see at night, which has the eggs glowing in different colors. One of the last room is the floating flower garden. This is the only time room and you have to line up to enter. I think it was about like a 20-minute wait time. You can always go back to line up again if you didn't get enough time. But we didn't want to wait again. This room requires some creativity and quick hands because there were so many people trying to capture the perfect moment too. The highlight here is that they have beautiful orchids hanging upside down and they turn on a pulley system that moves them up and down. We went through the soft black hole exhibit quickly and it felt more like a transitional space than an actual room. It was very short, dark, and a bit difficult to walk through, which was the purpose of it, I guess, since each step into these large odd-shaped squishy foams covered in a large dark fabric is supposed to represent like the soft black hole. I was looking forward to checking out this room that was filled with giant white beach balls that change colors if you were to push or bump into them, though it never really synced with our actions, so I'm not sure if it actually worked or if there's a delay. As for photos, we just picked a side with a cluster of spheres, then waited till a crowd of people passed to quickly capture the moment. Would you visit TeamLab Planets on your next Japan trip? We thought overall it was a fun experience and a cute day spot. It may not be for you if you aren't comfortable with going barefoot or stepping in a pool of water. We did find the immersive exhibit helped distract us with getting over the discomfort. Let us know if you have any questions in the comment section, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.